is H.E. Rozelle, and we're here today to talk about Extreme Intervention, my first novel. And I hope you have watched the introduction, part one, where we kind of talk about the theme, the narrative of the story, and give the background of these abductions that are going on. Now, from those core characters in that we introduce at the first of those stories, that story, then hundreds of characters back in history, and then through the stories developing all the way through the last book of short stories, they all grow from those first characters. Now, I thought it would be cute to name my county Benton County after an actual county in Alabama that's no longer with us. Benton County. And I figured, well, most of the readers will never guess it, and I just like the sound of Benton County. The historic Benton County was created in 1832 from land ceded to the U.S. by the Creeks at the Treaty of Quirky. And it was named for Missouri Senator Francis Hart Benton, who at that time was pro-slavery. But as he grew older, and wiser, he decided that no, slavery is not so good, and he changed his views. Well, there these people were in Alabama, living in a county named after an anti-slavery senator. So what they did was they changed the name in 1858 to Calhoun County. They named it after John C. Calhoun, who was the fiercest pro-slavery senator at that time. He had died in 1850. So here's my dilemma. I have a fictional county, Benton County, coexisting at the same time as the actual Benton County. And I have my characters, some of them in the 1840s and 50s, going up to the Oxford area to trade and do business and things. So that's inconsistent. So what did I do about it? I just ignored it because I was too invested in the Benton County and the Benton County Trilogy. I like the name of it. So out of all the hundreds of thousands of people who've read these stories, that probably just a few hundred realize that inconsistency. I intended to just write one book and then just go about my business, get it off my bucket list, but I fell in love with these characters. You write about somebody and you think about their personality, and I'm sure it happens to all authors that, and I loosely put myself in the category as a real author, but I fell in love with these people. And so if I quit writing, then they're going to be stuck in limbo in that one story, and they never progress, they never develop. So I just kept writing. I said, I'll write the Benton County Trilogy, and then I'll tell it all. And, well, it ended up being 6 books. And so some of those characters, my favorite characters, one of them is Monroe Phillips. Now, if you are a writer and you live in the South, it is incumbent upon you to have a grotesque character, Southern grotesque. And so Monroe Phillips is my first attempt, and I have a few more for us over with. And if you are a reader, probably some things are popping into your mind, like if you read Faulkner in Sanctuary, there was a character, Popeye, who's a little old, frail, thin, kind of a little guy that's awful mean and ends up assaulting somebody, another man with a corn cob. That's pretty grotesque. And then Eudora Welty's freak show characters in The Petrified Man. And I read it years ago, but I can't remember much about that. But what I can remember is if any of you have read Erskine Caldwell and Tobacco Road. I read that when I was probably 15 or 16. And he has a character that, I mean, I can still see it so vividly. This young woman in the dirt, crawling, squirming seductively towards this man, in the sweat and the dirt and the wanton look in her eyes. And so Erskine Caldwell was pretty good at creating Southern grotesque. Now, I don't even have to look at my notes. The king, or in this case, the queen of Southern grotesque is Flannery O'Connor. If you've never read Flannery O'Connor's short stories, turn this off, go to the library, get it. She is the best. And well, A Good Man is Hard to Find is the first one that pops in your mind. That's a short story, and where she has this character called the Misfit, who, while quoting Bible verses, he has this whole family slaughtered in the backwoods on the way to Florida. And my wife and people have said that some of my little passages are a little brutal. I can't touch Flannery O'Connor. I wish I could. And I was so crazy about her. She has this character in Wise Blood. They made a movie about that called Hazel Motes. And so I used Hazel's name in one of my stories because he's a preacher that rips his eyes out. So anyway, here's my description of Monroe Phillips. And I know the eminent author and writer Bonnie Bartel Latino has told me you don't tell about something, you show about it. But I was getting down to the end of the book, so I had to get it more concise. So, okay, let's see if we can find him. The Phillips own a lot of land, most of the land in Benton County, and they have this huge son that people are kind of afraid of. His father, Marshall, once described him by saying, "Monroe don't look like everybody else." The caricature, though technically correct, was a gross understatement. Monroe had finally stopped growing at 7 feet 2 inches and 493 pounds. In those early years, he was either compared to the famous wrestler and actor Andre the Giant, or simply called an ogre. Monroe's blue eyes would have been beautiful in any other face, but his bald head was so large and his forehead so broad that his eyes seemed small and sinister. He had huge teeth, but they were spaced so far apart that biting food was a problem. And he had this physical issue that he had been born with, where he had this little tiny voice. So here's this huge man with a little baby voice. And whatever that problem was had rendered him unable to smile. And his mother often admonished him, "Smile, Monroe, and people will like you." Unfortunately, those attempts resulted in a malicious snarl that had quite the opposite effect. Over the years, Monroe had moved from being on the list of local characters to becoming an actual legend. Most of the stories about him were untrue or exaggerated. His mother did not die giving birth to him because of his size. He was not sired by a Bigfoot or any other beast, nor did he keep company with one. And he did not have a wife chained somewhere in the Phillips house to keep her from running away. And he did not eat his meat raw. Some cases were true. The high school did have to special order his football uniform, and the helmet alone for that big head had cost over $500 and was exactly like the ones the NFL had used. So Monroe is an odd bird, and he's going to play a big part in most of the stories. And even after he's dead, he's going to keep coming back. Another character that I fell in love with is not Grotesque. She's quite the opposite. And early on in the history of the county, there was a rich store owner and landowner, Ansel, who on Sunday mornings liked to go out and check on his sharecroppers. So this is one Sunday morning. As he approached the front gate, he practiced a stern pep talk to let that family know that he certainly hoped that they could make up the shortages, that they just hadn't grown enough cotton this year, and he was going to have to let them know about it. He's now standing at the bottom porch step when the rusty old spring squeaked and the screen door opened. A young girl reluctantly came out of the shadows and into the bright light. Ansel saw too much at one time for him to take it all in. His hands lifted to shield his eyes, and he squinted to find that the girl was several inches taller than him and had beautiful blonde hair, blue eyes, pouty lips, and a shy smile. Through some fortunate quirk of genetics, little squint-eyed, snuff-dipping Virgil, her father, and his homely wife had produced a startlingly beautiful child. The faded old gingham dress that she wore had probably belonged to her mother. Once red, it was now a faded shade of pink and was so soft from too many washings that her heavy breasts wobbled with every movement. She had a small waist that quickly flared to full, rounded hips that were fit for a much older woman. Ansel had seen beautiful women before, but never anyone like this. She seemed bigger than life, and Ansel absently wondered if the bright light might actually be emanating from her. He had lost his ability to speak or think. He could only stare with his mouth open and his eyes dazed. "Mom and Daddy ain't here right now, Mr. Culpepper." I'm Mr. Culpepper." "I know, you come here every year, and I've been to your store too." "You come to the store?" "I've been outside in the wagon where we could pick up our Christmas box. I've been twice, but Mama wouldn't let me get down off the wagon. You know the way men look at me. Mama and Daddy are down at the garden. You want me to take you down there?" "To the garden? Come on, I'll show you." As the girl came down the stairs from the porch, Ansel watched her bare feet, her ankles, and her calves. When he finally raised his eyes to her face, he realized how much taller she was than he. She cocked her head while looking at him, trying to understand why such an important man could be acting so stupidly. "My name's Brenda Bell Beverett, but I hate the Bell part. They just named me that so I'd have 3 B's in my name. And it's the only B Mama could think of, except for Bonnie and Barbara. And Brenda Bonnie and Brenda Barbara don't sound right. Come on, it's this way." As Ansel followed the girl down the trail toward the garden. His eyes were fixed on the thin pink cotton stretched over her firm, rolling buttocks. Now, I have people in my family that think that some of this writing is a little on the edge.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But they just don't know great literature, I guess. Watch out for the limb. A sweet gun limb slapped Ansel hard across the face. Brenda hurried back and squatted over his prone body to pick up his hat. Ansel's eyes, still spinning and now completely out of control, his eyes locked on her breast that were bulging out of the top of her dress. She saw this and she started brushing at herself. I hate spiders. Spiders? Yeah, I could tell by the way you was looking at me so hard, it must be a spider got on me. They spin webs across the trails. I don't find one, but that don't mean he's not still there. So, Ansel is focused on Brenda. Now, the trouble is, where I got in trouble with my daughter, is Brenda, at this time, I think she's just 14 years old.
Bad, Daddy, bad.
But she's very well developed, and that happens sometimes. And, of course, nothing happens untoward until the parents work things out, and I'll give you a little secret that they might get married when she's 16. So that's another one of the characters that I am really crazy about. And there's another character that's based on a real life hero of Clay County. You would think when I had the female sheriff, Sheriff Ida Chandler, that now that's not going to happen in a rural Alabama county conservative, that they would elect a female sheriff. But they did, and I've never been prouder of Clay County. In 2003, the Clay County voters elected Jean Dot Alexander to be our sheriff. And they elected her because she's honest and she is organized, and they knew she would work very hard to keep the people of Clay County safe. So that's a wonderful thing, and I kind of wanted to honor her, and I like her, and so I based one of my characters on her. But the only difference is, in my mind, my Sheriff Ida Chandler looks a little bit more like K.D. Lang. That can't sing in this case. Okay, every one of my stories is based on some theme or message. The theme that runs all the way through Extreme Intervention is from that saying, there's nothing more dangerous than good people doing what's right. And like when the good people of New England had to burn all those little girls for being witches, they're just doing God's work. They're doing what's right. You got to protect your people. You know, that's what good Christians do. Fight the devil, fight Satan. When the Islamic fundamentalists flew the airplanes into our twin towers, each one of them knew he was going to immediately go to heaven because they were fighting the great Satan. And during the First Crusade, this one always stands out, the good Christians slaughtered every man, woman, and child in Jerusalem because they were either Muslims or Jews. They're doing God's work. Good people doing what's right. So that saying, is always stuck in my mind. And when they attacked our Capitol on January the 6th, you know, and they're knocking down doors, breaking windows, rubbing human feces on the wall, trying to kill Nancy Pelosi. Every one of them thought they're up there, they're doing what's right. They're trying to save America. They're doing what's right by attacking America's capital. So this good quote, I needed to give whoever said it credit for it, because it's been going through my mind since the 60s. So I tried to Google it, look it up, chat, GPT, everything. Who said that? I couldn't find anything. That'd never been said, apparently, according to Google. Well, I was taking my granddaughter, we were showing her some records, and I picked up this record by Bobby Joe Gentry, and it was a big song, the Ode to Billy Joe. If you're old enough, you remember when that was a big hit. And bam, it came to me. There's one obscure song on there, The Ace Insurance Man. And if you've never heard it, go to YouTube, look it up. It's good if you like that kind of Southern stuff. But there's this innocent young girl at home, alone. And the Ace Insurance Man has come through town, and he's headed out to visit that house. And the people start talking, well, that girl's home alone. It ain't no telling what might happen. So they jump in their cars, get in the trucks, they get on the mules. They start running cross country trying to beat the Ace Insurance Man, run through flower beds, killing chickens and dogs. And there's a voice in the background that says, they're just good people doing what's right. So apparently that stuck in my head. And then somewhere along the line, it dawned on me that there's nothing much more dangerous when you get a good bunch of good do-gooders rushing out to do what's right. So if you Google it right now, put it in quotes. There's nothing more dangerous than good people doing what's right, end quote, and Google it. You know what it's going to show you? This book. Apparently nobody said that, and I think it's damn good. So anyway, I can't take the credit. It was Bobby Joe Gentry who came up with the original line. So we will share the honor of coming up with that quote that I think fits a lot of times. So that's mostly the end of the little introduction to extreme intervention. But I do want to later, there's a terrible scene on a covered bridge, the Waldo covered bridge that happens back in like the 1850s. No, it's after the war between the states. So I'm going to try to go, and we'll go and see if we can get on that covered bridge, and I'll read you that little excerpt of that terrible tragedy. Stay tuned.